welcome to episode 29 of the Duck Boat Report. Here with Patrick Donnelly, I'm Brady Gardner. Patrick, how we doing?
We are just trying to make it to Christmas Day.
That's right. It's Christmas Eve today. We're almost there.
Almost.
Coming to you, obviously, from our own homes. We are home for the holidays, so no longer in the studio. We are back at home doing it on Skype, so while we may be sacrificing some audio quality, at least you can see our wonderful faces, so maybe that adds something. So we're doing another show here. We have a lot to react to as we're moving to weekly shows here over the winter break, so lots of things to talk about. Patrick, your leadoff thought, what do you have to start us off today?
I thought Sunday's Patriots game was honestly your prototypical Patriots win that we haven't had at all this season.
Alrighty. Wow. I look forward to diving into that one. That'll be interesting. And then for me, I'm going to go Bruins because that win last night over the Capitals, holy cow. My family went out to dinner, and I was like, oh, it's not going to matter that we're going to miss the first period because, this is one of those games that's going to come down to the wire, just like all their, recent big games. And sure enough, 4 goals in the first period is ridiculous. So, big wins for the Bruins and the Patriots. And I think we'll start with the Pats being probably the more important result as the Patriots knocked off the Buffalo Bills 24-17 at home this past Saturday. And we'll run through the game here, but Patrick, we can pause at different parts to talk about certain things. So the Bills got it underway first off with a field goal with about 6 minutes into the first quarter, coming off of a fumble by Rex Burkhead. And I don't know, it didn't feel too good at that point with Bills getting an early score after the Pats got the kickoff. Were you nervous about Rex Burkhead there?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I missed the entire first quarter because we messed up. Ryan and I forgot, or my brother and I went to get takeout, and we came home and got where's the calzone?
Oh.
We had to go back and get it and wait for it. So.
Well, I'll cover the first quarter then. Yeah, Rex Burkhead, gets a great catch and run, and everything's looking great. They're driving the ball, and then someone just comes out, punches it from behind. Short field for the Bills. Defense got off the field enough to surrender just a field goal, but you're like, okay, here we are. The offense already in a hole, and they haven't even crossed their 50. So, you're getting kind of nervous there if you're a Patriots fan. But sure enough, they responded really well, worked it down the field, and then Matt Lacoste caught a touchdown pass just about less than 2 minutes left in the first quarter, and that was huge. It was his first catch for a touchdown as a Patriot. So he kept the ball and everything. That was a nice little moment for him. That's another guy to add to Tom Brady's ever-growing list of receivers who have caught a touchdown pass, more than anyone historically, I'm quite sure. So that was 7-3 after the first quarter, and then into the second, you had Nick Folk make a 36-yarder to go 10-3, and then the Patriots had a real opportunity to step on the throats of the Bills a little bit. They were driving. They had a fourth and 1 or 2. They tried the end around for N'Keal Harry. The play gets blown up because Mohamed Sanu missed a block. A couple things to talk about here. We'll start with Sanu. Tough game for him.
Yeah, it wasn't his greatest, and even we're getting at the point when he's back there for a punt. It's like, oh, here we go, fair catch. Nothing's exciting is going to happen.
Yeah.
Well,
the only excitement is when he says he's not going to catch it, and then it bounces to him, and he still decides to try to play it. Just run away.
And they tried that the trick play with him. They really didn't have him do anything except the shovel pass, which was behind him. Yeah. It just feels like, I don't know. We talked about trying to force people in the offense, and right now it's just it's not clicking, and maybe they're trying to force things for him. But
yeah, it's crazy too. One of the wide receivers with the most impressive resumes on the entire receiving staff is one of the guys that's having the most trouble getting into this offense, and he's a guy that I guess at least sources say that Tom Brady, picked him out saying, okay, we need to fix the offense. I want this guy from this team, go get him. And they did, to their credit. And, 3 receptions, 24 yards, a long of 10, 5 targets. What'd he do, right? He was less targeted than, actually Myers had 3, but he had the same amount of catches as Jacoby Myers, a guy that they picked up off the street to start the season. So, not very impressive from Mohamed Sanu, struggling not just in catching the ball, but also, the blocking that led to the turnover on downs there with Harry not getting the first down on the end around. Josh McDaniels getting a little cute with that one, but sure enough, the Bills, just a couple plays, and they went right back down the field. I think it was, what's his name, Dawson Knox, the tight end that the Pats could have drafted before they took Damon Harris. Great pick there. But he had a 33-yard reception, set the Bills up to score the touchdown, and just like that, it was tied at halftime.
What happened to your hype fest for Damian Harris?
So it's hard to be hyped about him when he doesn't even get dressed for a game, and I don't understand why they don't do it. I guess the return of Rex Burkhead has been huge, actually, because he has been that kind of more powerful back that can run through people, as he proved later in the game. But yeah, I don't know. Damian Harris, something must be wrong there, because it's not like the running backs for the Pats have been all that impressive this season, yet he has not even been given a chance. So maybe he's still very much a work in progress. We'll see, though. So far, that Knox guy looks pretty good. So 10-10 at the half, and then Nick Folk scored for the Pats to put them back ahead 13-10, a 51-yarder. Did you see him being able to hit that one, or were you a little nervous when he came out for it?
I was nervous. I mean, the only reason you sold him on me was he's got the leg power, so
big leg power.
Knew he was gonna get there.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
This guy has been nails since he came in. I'm a big special teams guy. My love for Jake Bailey and his big, beautiful balls that he kicks down the field. But Nick Folk has been incredible for the Pats. He had a 51-yarder there. That was his longest, obviously, as a Patriot, and there was really no doubt about it. He's been phenomenal. Who needs Gostowski? Maybe I won't go that far. But Folk has been great. If I didn't have a Bailey jersey, I'd have a Folk jersey. I think he's a great guy. Just don't mess it up in the playoffs, please, Nick, because he definitely does not have much playoff experience coming from the Jets for most of his career. Anyway, third quarter, the Bills did take the lead, actually, their only lead of the game, with a long touchdown, 53 yards to John Brown. Did you see that play? I don't know what happened there.
I did. That was who got burned there? It was Gilmore. Well, it was just a great route by John Brown. He kind of got Gilmore spinning, and then McCourty got burned.
Right, and that's not good. Those are your two probably Pro Bowl caliber guys, even though only one made it. But yeah, Brown did a kind of a double move on Gilmore, who was out to lunch at the end of that play. He was just gone, and then he ran right by McCourty, and I don't know. That's kind of the play that makes you nervous, because we've seen that a couple times now with the Hardman guy from the Chiefs doing that to him, and now Brown here, and they've allowed a few of those long touchdowns where they don't even get a hand on one of these quick receivers. And some of the strengths of at least your secondary, and especially Devin McCourty, is limiting those big touchdown plays, and being able to stay on top of things, keep it to just 20 yards. So they've shown some weaknesses there. How'd you feel about the whole defense in this game?
I didn't think it was. I think it got better towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about, the prototypical Patriots win, where all right, it's not the greatest start for the offense or the defense for that matter. It's just not the greatest start in general. And everyone just kind of pulls it together towards the end. The offense was so dominant in the third quarter, even though they didn't really capitalize, aside from the couple the go-aheads in the third and the fourth. So the offense did what they needed to do. They did enough. I don't want to say just enough, but they did what they needed to do to win. And then at the end, the defense finally came together and is what you would expect, and shut down the young QB and just made it look easy. Made it look like another day at the office for the defense, at the end at least.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter, and that was when it was all Pats. Nick Folk hit another 20-yarder to get them within 1 point, and then Rex Burkhead had a 1-yard touchdown run, and Brady completed a pass to Julian Edelman for the 2-point conversion. That would make it 24-17 for the final score. And a few things there in the fourth quarter to take away. Edelman had a play where he got called for pass interference on pretty blatant screen, or not screen, but what do they call it? Pick play? Yeah, when he tries to go into the middle and just takes out the cornerback. Pretty blatant, but yeah, Edelman had to go into concussion protocol for that one. He was dealing with a knee injury all day and that concussion. He's really beat up, but he came right back out and helped them get down the field for that Burkhead touchdown. And you talk about the defense there; they had to stop at the end, slowing down the Bills, who had traveled the entire field pretty much. And we have our guest for our throw-in today already, as we just completed going through the game and the different scoring plays and all that. So I think we are at the time where we can analyze the game as a whole. We're joined by my dad, Bruce Gardner. There he is.
Hey, Patrick, Merry Christmas.
My mom's up there. Everybody's here. So, Dad, what'd you think of the game as a whole?
It was a shock. I thought.
Shocked.
I expected the Bills to suffer defeat at the hands of the Pats and Gillette, but I was not expecting the offense to take over. Did you guys talk about that already?
Not really.
I mean, could you? I don't know what you thought, Patrick, but we were seeing an inaccurate Tom Brady for the last several weeks. Every throw was on the money, looked like old Tom. The offensive line was Swiss cheese leading up until that game. Suddenly we could run the ball. I don't know if you can just put that on a Landon Roberts development as our new fullback, but I think the line had their best game. Defense was solid again, other than that one at halftime, which just for halftime was a little disappointing. I don't know. I got all excited now. I mean, the enthusiasm I was worried, wasn't there. Suddenly, Pats Nation is back in sync. What do you guys think?
I agree. So that's kind of the game we've been waiting for all season. As I said to Brady, it's like that prototypical Patriots win where they don't have the greatest start, but then everyone comes together at towards the end. The defense looks great in the fourth quarter, and Tom's just throwing dimes as the offense dominated in the third quarter. I think it's just one of those games that we've been just dying to have all season long. And I guess it's better that they found it now so they can work on it again in Miami or against Miami.
So Landon Roberts is a huge part of this offensive victory, and you could see Josh McDaniels use him in a lot of different ways. They even got him involved in the passing game. Obviously, he didn't, end up catching any passes, but just a willingness to throw the ball while he was on the field. And you could see it, especially in the run game too, how there just seemed like so much more confidence there for Sony Michel. You think Sony Michel depends on having a Landon Roberts? Is that kind of the key here? He needs a fullback in front of him?
I think, that was kind of the missing piece because, we mentioned last week with Ethan where, maybe we haven't really been talking about how they haven't had James Devlin this entire time, and we've been wondering why the run game has struggled, and now all of a sudden that Landon Roberts finds himself in that spot. The run game's looked better over the last 2 weeks, especially on Sunday against Buffalo.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, it certainly does look like he needs a fullback. That'd be the easy conclusion. Why Tom was so accurate, to me, that was, I think, the single biggest surprise, whether it's just that guys ran routes better or he had the extra time he needed because the line did a little better or because the run game was working. It opened up the passing game a little bit. But that was the biggest surprise to me. I really thought the elbow was causing him accuracy issues. But if he can throw like that and has the time to throw like that, then, they could sustain this. It's interesting now to think that hopefully Miami's not too tough a game. They get to rest people for a couple weeks. And then I guess the most likely scenario is Kansas City coming in. Did you guys talk about that, see that?
We haven't, but yeah, that's the road ahead. Kansas City did beat the Bears on Sunday Night Football, so the Patriots do have to take the Miami game seriously. The final game of the season, Week 17. So they need a win there to keep the second seed and the first round bye, which is critical for the Pats at this point. But yeah, the way it looks, it seems like Chiefs are going to be the third seed, which means they'll play the sixth seed. You have to assume the Chiefs will win that. Then the third seed would obviously take on the second, being the next best team available. So Patriots-Chiefs could be the rematch at Gillette Stadium, but maybe we should wait on that one till we get to that.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say was we're going to need Tom to continue to be that accurate. We're going to need the running game to continue to work, but that's probably the case regardless of who we play. So we'll cover that. You guys can cover that down the road.
Right, and so now the question is, how do you treat this Dolphins game? Because you say, you got to rest guys, and you got to make sure Tom's elbow is good, and, Edelman is ready to go for the playoffs because he's obviously dealing with some stuff. You got to make sure everybody's on the field once it's time to take on, the Chiefs or whoever it is. So how do you treat the Dolphins game? Patrick, what would you do in terms of load management?
Patrick, you are Bill Belichick.
Okay.
I think I'd see how the first quarter or even the first half goes. We know Tom's not going to come out. Tom Brady's not going to come out of the game because you saw how Emma Jarrett stood him earlier this season. But if you're up big after the first quarter or the first half, it's time to start getting the secondary and the third rotation guys in there. I think it's all kind of gauging how you're doing because you do have to come out with a win either way, and I expect you to. But just see how the game's trending up to whichever point and make your call there.
Yeah, I think, once they get a steady lead, even if it's like 10 points, at least it's a 2-score game. And I think, that's when they're going to kind of dial it in and just go all like run game because you don't want to make Tom throw it on that elbow more than he needs to because he had the big rap again at the press conference, even though he said it's a different elbow injury than it was before, which is very confusing. But just limit the amount of times he has to throw the ball ideally, and then obviously limit the amount of times that Edelman has to get tackled. Maybe even just keep him off the field altogether. Obviously, he's out there when you need to score, but once you're kind of sitting on the lead, what's the point in having him run on that bum knee more than he has to? So I think that's the time when you just hand it to Sony Michel, make the most boring second half possible, and just grind out a win against the Dolphins. So we'll see how that goes. Did you have any final thoughts before you leave us today?
Sure. Just, there's joy back in Mudville. The Patriots, gave us something great for Christmas. That was such an encouraging win that we're thrilled. Two final thoughts. First, my highlight for me of the Christmas season so far would be the Brad Stevens Tacko exchange.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Which I'm sure you'll touch on. So that's another joy here at the Christmas time. And then finally, for me, Patrick, you must have gotten a Christmas present already with that Bruins output last night. So Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Alrighty, that's
Merry Christmas.
There he goes, my dad, Bruce Gardner, joining us here, making the long trek across to this room of the house. Thanks to him for joining us. And yeah, just my final thought about that Patriots game is not really a Patriots thought, but I feel like Josh Allen really wasn't that bad.
No, he wasn't. He's been great this year.
People I don't know about great this year, but people always said, oh, you don't have to take this guy seriously. He's not a real quarterback. They would really be something if they had a quarterback. He seemed like exactly what they needed. He, got the ball to Cole Beasley for some good pickups. He kept it safe. He didn't have a single turnover. He was able to move for a big fourth down, I think it was. Maybe it was a third, but he used his feet well, kept the ball safe, threw the passes he needed to, made those long connections, too, for the touchdown and for the big pickup to Knox. I think he did everything they needed him to. I don't know what the complaints are about Josh Allen.
And he's tall.
He is tall. That's very important.
Well, no, I think I say great because of the expectations. Like, he stepped in last year and he was kind of like just okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're like, there's flashes, and then you just like what are we doing here? And I think he's been very good this year relative to what people expected of him.
Yeah, and you never know if maybe we'll see the Bills some point down the road. I don't know how that would work out because they're probably going to be the 5 seed. So something special would have to happen there, I think. The 5 and the 6 would have to win.
A lot of people would have to lose. A lot of people would have to win.
Yes. So, we'll see about that. Moving along, we'll go to the Boston Bruins because they had that big win yesterday, defeating the Washington Capitals by a final score of 7-3. Talk about football scores there. A lot of goals in that one. And previously, they had beaten the, I don't know when we last did a show, but they had the Islanders. Now, they didn't beat anybody, actually, because they were on a losing streak. They lost to the Islanders 3-2 in a shootout, and then to the Predators 4-3 in overtime. And that was part of a skid, including 8 losses in 9 games for the Bees before they finally got back to winning ways against the Capitals. What do you make of this whole stretch, Patrick?
I don't know what to make of it. You could do the airplane line. Well, you can make a hat, a brooch, pterodactyl, whatever. But do we go over the Kings game?
I don't remember.
All right.
Maybe we can if you want.
No, it's all right. Either way, like, you get to the Islanders game, and it's like, all right, we're lost once you get to the shootout. You're like, it's over. Bruce Cassidy going to send out Wayne Gretzky. He's going to go 5-hole and get stopped. And it's just like, I don't know. In the Nashville game, in overtime, it's just these mental lapses where I say uninspired, and when you're inspired and when you look like you want to be there, you're paying attention to those details. You have that overtime rush. It's Kyle Turris, whoever else, and Ryan Ellis. Rask makes the first save. Bergeron stays on his man. Bergeron, the only one who does what he's supposed to do. Marchand and Krug curl outside. Like, who are you picking up? There's no one at the point. It's 3-on-3. There's no one there to pick up. There are no wingers waiting for a pass. There's nothing. And Ryan Ellis is all alone in front. And then, like, last night, it was a great first period. They jump out to the big lead, as you said. And then the second period, it's like they fell asleep again. And kind of a little bit in the third, where they were able to come away with a win with those 2 extra insurance goals once Washington kind of made it interesting. But, I mean, it's good to get the win. I still think they need help in the form of a forward. It's good that Chara missed the game, but it's fine. I guess they still won. He's going to be back on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious about McAvoy's health, and I think it was Krug who also went down. So yeah.
Yeah, yesterday's game was huge just because you got into this mini break here for Christmas. I don't know if it's really a break. They have another game in 3 days, but I guess it's kind of like a turning the page a little bit to a different chapter. It's like a natural stop.
Significant about it is just the roster freeze and trade freeze.
Yes, that's true. So it was huge for the Bees to get such a convincing win, especially knocking out Braden Holtby in that game, because we know that he's like their kryptonite. They never, get goals against him, but they did, and they got a ton of them. Jake DeBrusk, Brad Marchand, Anders Bjork, and Patrice Bergeron all in the first period. Charlie Coyle made it 5-0 in the second before Ovechkin and Ehlers got 2 goals for the Capitals, who then decided that they wanted to pull the goalie down 3 with about 4 minutes left in the third. So we had 4 minutes of just back and forth. Krejci scored an empty netter, and then the Capitals decided they wanted to continue, I guess, and they scored another one. Went back to pulling the goalie with 3 goals down, 2 minutes left, and so Bergeron finished it off 7-3. Got a little bit ugly in that one with David Pastrnak and Tom Wilson going at each other. I think we know who has the physical edge in that one, and Charlie McAvoy taking a big hit from TJ Oshie, and I think what you noticed a little bit there is even more like the significance of Zdeno Chara with this team, because I don't know if you have really anyone who can command the ice and intimidate an opponent like he does. Because I don't think if Chara's out there skating next to McAvoy, then Oshie doesn't make that hit and McAvoy doesn't get hurt. I'm very confident of that.
I think Oshie still makes that hit. I don't know if it's. I think the retaliation from the Bruins is bigger.
Yeah.
I don't think Tom Wilson is running around all willy-nilly like that. But I'll do you one more because there's nothing you can control about Chara going down last night because it was a scheduled procedure to remove the screws from the offseason surgery to his jaw. So it was expected, but he's going to be fine. But, what I look at more is why is Brett Ritchie in the lineup over David Backes?
Yeah.
David Backes should be in the lineup. David Backes and Brett Ritchie, while they probably will not offer you as much on offense, although David Backes does a better job of getting in front of the net and making things happen, at least when he's been in this year. Whether it's a garbage time goal or even if they need to put him in on the second power play unit as a fill-in, he's been all right. But, the difference between those two guys, while some may look at them relatively as wastes of space, David Backes will finish his hits. David Backes will stick up for his teammates. And, I'm not going old-time hockey, the Bruins need toughness. Go get Ryan Reeves for a 5th-round pick. But David Backes needs to be in the lineup, especially against Tom Wilson.
And without Zdeno Chara.
Yeah, he's not gonna. He's obviously not the most intimidating presence, but come on,
yeah, he'll stick up for guys.
So much more than Brett Ritchie.
Exactly. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there with Ritchie and Backes. My only guess could be that they're worried about Backes being able to go the entire season with his aging legs, and he's already not the quickest guy, so maybe they're kind of slowing it down with him.
And the concussions.
Yeah, and the concussions. So you want to make sure that he's there for the long haul, especially if you end up getting rid of Ritchie and you need Backes to take a bigger role.
Yeah, that's why I'm not David Backes needs to go crush some skulls every night, because he just can't with his head history.
But at least he would have stuck up for people a little bit more than we saw last night, because it did seem like there wasn't a ton of retaliation aside from they put the 4th line out there with 20 seconds to play or whatever. And, Nordstrom and even Ritchie a little bit, but not to the extent Backes could have. They started throwing themselves around, but it's kind of too little too late, and the damage had already been done. So I think you missed Chara in that one, but he says that, that's the only game he's going to miss. He's confident in that, which is crazy to me. But we'll probably see Chara back on the ice sooner rather than later. They take on the Buffalo Sabres for a back-to-back, going away first and then returning home between Friday the 27th and Sunday the 29th before going down to New Jersey next Tuesday, the 31st, for a visit with the New Jersey Devils at 1 o'clock, which is strange for a weekday, but I guess that's New Year's Eve for you. So that's the Bruins right now. Do you have any last comments on the Bees before we move along?
All I want for Christmas, it can be a couple months late, Don. I know Amazon might not get that 2-day delivery. All I want for Christmas is it right winger?
Not Anders Bjork. He looked good last night.
Oh, so Anders Bjork has been phenomenal. He's really taken a step over over like the last 2 weeks, I'll say. When him and Coyle are on the ice together, no one else touches the puck.
Yeah.
You're not playing hockey when those two are on the ice together. I don't know. I think for this season he's best suited. I think you're best suited just stacking up that third line.
Yeah.
Bjork, Coyle, and Heinen. We know how good they've been together.
Right.
I think for the time being, either Coyle or Danton Heinen needs to play that third line or second line right wing. So you either find,
which is not great.
Yeah, you either find me a third line center so Charlie Coyle can move up there, or you get me a second line right winger.
Yeah, if you want to be a playoff team and you want to, continue to, build players as much as you can, then sure, give Bjork some time on the second line, or maybe he'll even be your permanent guy there. See what you can do. But if you really want to be a cup winning team and you want to fix the mistakes that made you lose the cup last year, which was depth scoring, I think you need the third line to have those kind of second, third bubble guys in Coyle and Bjork. I think you need them to be on the third so they can dominate that matchup and help you with a little bit more scoring.
And if we're looking like a couple years ago where we don't have, I'll say even 2 years ago when they lost to Tampa in the second round, we don't have that mindset of, oh, they're really in it to win the cup. We're like, oh, this is a young run and gun team. Maybe if they get to certain matchups in the playoffs, they can make a run for it. Not necessarily run and gun team, but they're young, exciting. They're on the come up. If they get the matchups, they can make something happen. Where like, yeah, I'd be fine with tinkering around, like, oh, let's see what Anders Bjork can do up there. But like we look at last year and this year, where it's cup or bust. You're all in. Mm-hmm. There's no time to be. I'm not like. I said this to Ethan on the podcast last week. Like GMs are in the business of green bananas and just overvaluing like things before they know what they really are. Like, yeah. Just take a swing, make something happen.
Take a swing, but not Ilya Kovalchuk, please.
No.
All right, we'll move along now.
For a vet minimum wave, Brett Ritchie, I'm all for it.
Yeah, true. Okay, moving on along to the Boston Celtics, who have had themselves a pretty good stretch before Christmas. They knocked off the Mavericks in Dallas 109-103 before beating the Pistons and I almost said Charlotte Hornets. Wow, Charlotte. Oh, they are the Hornets. Mm-hmm. I'm losing it. I almost said Bobcats also. They're the Hornets now. They haven't been the Bobcats in like 8 years, whatever. Pistons, they beat 114-93, and then the Hornets 119-93 as well. So pretty convincing victories from the C's. Your leading scorers were Kemba in the first one with 32 points in a game where that big three of Kemba, Jalen, and Jason came up with, I think, 82 of the Celtics' 109 points, something crazy like that. And then Brown had 26 to lead the team against Detroit. Tatum put up a career-high 39, which led the C's on Sunday against Charlotte. Good stretch for the C's.
Yeah, and especially bouncing back after that close loss to Indiana, and then until the fourth, until that like second half against Philadelphia, kind of what seemed like a tire fire a little bit. And you beat a good team in Dallas. They didn't have Luka, but they've still been finding ways to win. They still have Kristaps. Seth Curry's been popping off. And then you beat a Pistons team that obviously like isn't the greatest, but can make some noise, kind of play spoiler a little bit. Especially D Rose has been pretty good this year. And then Charlotte. But it's good to just get those 3 wins in a row, because like we were after the Philadelphia game and the Indiana loss, we were like, woe is us. Like the Celtics have lost 2 games in a row after this crazy stretch, and then you really look at it, they only lost 2 in a row, and now they're back 23 in a row.
Yeah, they've turned it around well, and they've been missing Marcus Smart here during this. They've had Gordon Hayward out. That's the name I was looking for. So they've been kind of shorthanded, and they're still getting it done. Granted, not against the best opposition ever, but they're able to do it, and they're getting some pretty impressive performances from the likes of Kemba and Tatum and Brown. So it's been great for the C's right now, and my dad kind of referred to it, but Tacko Fall, of course, making headlines here with his return to the Celtics, his debut on the parquet. And I don't know, what do you think of Tacko these stretches here?
Love Tacko. No complaints.
Helps you find the tools people love and then get them.
You're good for one of those per show.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's playing. Something's playing out loud. I don't know what it is.
Maybe ESPN in the background.
I think it is. I'm scrolling too quickly through ESPN and everything's turning on. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
My apologies. Carry on.
I'm just saying, I really have no qualms with Tacko. Anytime you can get this kid on the court, it's electric, especially if it's at the Garden. And as your dad said, that exchange between Brad, the crowd, and Tacko, and that high five at the end, the high five at the end doesn't get talked about enough. It's just it seals the moment. Ugh.
That's a late candidate for the moment of the decade. Maybe not for all of Boston sports, but for the Celtics. That was huge. Just you get the big man. Everybody wants to see him. They're chanting, and it's late in the game, and Stevens has heard it all game. And he's, starting to casually pump the crowd up a little bit. And then sure enough, he, says, okay, Tacko, let's go. And then, Tatum comes running up with him. He's like, go get him, buddy. And Tacko, he was taking his, warm-up shirt off while he was running by Stevens. I thought he was going to, take him down, run right into him. But it was just, such a feel-good moment. And he actually played pretty well against the Pistons. He had 5 minutes and scored 5 points in 5 minutes. He was a -6, which isn't ideal. He was a +6 though against the Hornets, and he had a block and 2 rebounds against the Pistons before recording a block and also 2 rebounds against the Hornets in 3 minutes. So Tacko getting it done, which leads me to one of my face-off takes for today, which is what the heck is the point of Vincent Poirier when Tacko probably just gave you more in 2 games than Poirier has given you in a season?
Well, you also look at it, not to discount the greatness that is Tacko.
Yes.
But he's playing in garbage time.
Does Poirier really get that many minutes in important spots?
He gets in the second rotation every now and then.
I don't know. He's been injured the whole time. He's inconsistent. He's just, Vinny Sixpence, okay, whatever. I'm a bigger fan of Tacko. I feel like he makes a little bit more of an impact. Yes, it's in, garbage time, but, they say that he gets in there late in these blowouts, and it's the loudest that the Garden has ever been. It's just the Tacko effect. So, I don't know. I don't see a real point to Poirier because from what he's giving you right now, I don't think it's really that much more than Tacko, who's definitely more capable of getting the arena going than Poirier is. So,
I don't know. I think Poirier offers you a little bit more in the, I don't want to say real game, but the more in the thick of things situations. But obviously, I don't think I'm the greatest to speak on that. I think that's a better conversation for when we have Ethan on. So yeah.
Alrighty. I don't know. Tacko.
I would love to see Tacko.
You're great to see him. What was that?
I agree with you that I would love to see Tacko play more, though.
Oh, yeah. Give him more. Maybe not more minutes, but just, keep him on the roster. See what happens. It's been fun to watch for sure. Okay, moving on. The C's have Toronto tomorrow on Christmas, the first game of their, annual Christmas back-to-back-to-back or whatever it is. They take on the Raptors in Toronto at noon. That'll be a big one. They also have the Raptors on Saturday, the 28th. That one at home. And in the middle, they have the Cleveland Cavaliers at home on the 27th. And concluding 2019, they'll take on the Hornets in Charlotte on the 31st. Busy stretch for the C's against some pretty good opponents, but you have to feel like they're going into some momentum, and supposedly they'll be getting some bodies back with Smart and Hayward apparently rejoining the C's pretty soon. So things are good for the Celtics. And, that's about it for them, unless you had anything else.
Nothing else, really.
All right, the Red Sox had something that I wanted to talk about, and I've already forgotten about it. Something significant. Was there any big Red Sox move?
Nothing really big from the Red Sox that I know of. Oh, Toronto's loading up. I don't know if they actually got Encarnacion, but it was close, and it was reported.
Yeah.
They got Travis Shaw. They got the mayor of Ding Dong City.
Mm-hmm. The original mayor of Ding Dong City. I think that title has been moved to JD Martinez now.
Oh, that's Jumbo Dong.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's like Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong.
Okay, nice. The weird uncle. I guess I did have like an overarching thought about the Red Sox, and it's really nothing new, but it's something that I heard, and it kind of makes sense. Like Chaim Bloom building this team with these, like low contracts of guys that we've heard of, but they're really, not names that jump off the page. It's frustrating, but it's kind of what you signed up for by bringing in Chaim Bloom, because this is a Rays guy, and now he's turning the Red Sox, at least their roster, into the Rays a little bit, where you're getting these cheap players who can give you, a year or two, and they'll be serviceable, and they won't cost you that much because you're up against, the finances. It's annoying because you look at the Rays and their fan base, their stadium, their history could not be further from the Red Sox. But that's what we've become a little bit. We're searching for those hidden gems or whatever. That, yes, it helped the Rays last year, but is it really a sustainable model for success? Is it something that's going to keep you in the playoffs every year, like the Yankees seem to be finding by bringing in the best possible talent whenever they can? And Patrick doesn't like any of it.
I don't think it falls on Chaim Bloom. None of this falls on Chaim Bloom. It all falls on his marching orders from the top down.
Oh, well, I'm not saying it's his fault, but it is just who he is. I guess
he has to do.
Right.
It's what he's being forced to do.
And that's frustrating. But it's like, we should have seen this coming, too, because this is the guy that they got from the organization he came from,
But, but you don't know that, because what was his position in Tampa? He was an assistant, correct?
Yeah.
So, all right, maybe it's the young assistant coming up finally gets his shot and wants to show what he can do. But no, he's forced to just sign the low-end guys. We don't. If John Henry doesn't come out and say we want to cut payroll, and this is becoming increasingly obvious through Chaim Bloom signings and stuff, like if he's just given free reign, then I think we can say this is what you'd expected from a guy coming from the Rays. But no, this is what we expected from an ownership group that just refuses to pay people.
Yeah. Frustrating times.
I think if he had free reign and had the opportunity to go out and get Garrett Cole, and there was actually talk, there was nothing about a big free agent coming to the Red Sox, because it's just not going to happen because they're not going to pay anyone.
Right. It's sad. It really is. But maybe things will change here. Tony Maserati of 98.5 said that either price or bets would be dealt before Christmas. And we're kind of getting down to the wire on that one. But, I have to think that there may be some fireworks soon. At least I hope that there will be, so we can see some progress here potentially. Speaking of progress, though, I would like to move into the Revs, who we haven't talked about in a little while. But they have deserved a little bit of conversation because this team and Bruce Arena have done a phenomenal job with their offseason, night and day to what the Red Sox are doing, it seems, where the Revs have made, I think it's 9 acquisitions now, but between November 1st and, here less than 2 months from then. They've got Alex Butner, the left back. Damian Rivera signed. He was a midfielder from the Revolution Academy, which produced Diego Fagundes and I think Scott Caldwell, if you're familiar with the names, Patrick, but impact players that have stuck with the team for some time. They have the re-signings of DeJuan Jones and Brandon Bai, to, developing outside backs. They've got Michael Mancien, who's a center back. He re-signed as well. You got back Kellen Rowe. This is moving into December now. On the 4th, Kellen Rowe rejoined the Revs. He has, real impact player when he was here. Ended up signing in Sporting Kansas City for a year. Now he's back to provide some midfield depth, both in the middle and on the outside. Seth Sinovich, I guess he was a former Rev as well. Certainly not as popular as Rowe was in his time, but he's coming back. I think he's in defensive depth as well. Adam Buxa was probably the biggest one. The third and final designated player, as they're called, in the MLS. He's a striker to be joining Gustavo Bo, so that's a pretty dangerous tandem there. And then the final move was Samba Camara, who's a French defender, 27 years old, and he's around center back. Yeah, he's a center back, so he's going to be providing some extra bodies down there. And people around the Revs are saying this is pretty much a completed roster, and it's not even Christmas. So that was a long way of saying things are looking good for the Revs.
I agree.
Alrighty. They also opened their new training facility. Did you see any pictures of it or anything? Probably
No.
not. Well, apparently it's like very nice. So I wonder if that has something to do with some of these signings where players actually want to come play here. I haven't, seen it in person, but I've seen some pictures and it is pretty good. So the Revs are, nothing but positive right now. And yeah, a representation of how the offseason should be done, perhaps. Look at them go. Bruce Arena doing great things. Alrighty.
Excited about this Buxa kid.
What was that?
I'm excited about this Buxa kid.
Buxa, yeah. I don't know. I've never heard of him, and it seems like a little bit of a swing when other teams are getting, Wayne Rooney and Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Kaká and whatever with their designated players, and we're, taking a 23-year-old from Poland.
Bruins. Get some young talent.
Yeah.
Some
I don't know.
exciting talent.
So, moving in to some national things going on. Oh, by the way, one last Tacko thing. Did you see the video of him conducting the Boston Pops last night?
I did.
The man can do no wrong.
Did you see Poirier and Cantor, who should run a Celtics blog, like just the Celtics not blog. They should do it with a V. Just out with Tacko, the new Tacko Mobile. There was just a treadmill in the bed of the truck.
Yeah.
In his parking spot at the Garden, just a treadmill in there.
Okay.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Tacko's driving around with a treadmill in his truck.
Alrighty, Tacko. The guy is just he's a strange fella, but interesting. All right, moving into national stories. I don't know if you have anything, but as always, I like to go through the NFL results. So the Texans were able to squeak one out against the Buccaneers. 49ers beat the Rams, which was huge in the NFC. I think that knocked out the Rams from playoff contention. So once again, another team that the Patriots broke by beating them in the Super Bowl, just like we saw with the Falcons. You had the Dolphins beat the Bengals in what was probably the game of the year. Did you see any of that?
I did not.
It was incredible. Bengals were down 2 scores, like a minute to play. They get a touchdown and then get the onside kick and then throw a Hail Mary, and Tyler Eifert catches it. But Dolphins ended up winning that one with a field goal in overtime. You had the Cardinals beat the Seahawks, which was a surprise, but didn't really matter because the Seahawks can still win the NFC West. They're the West. With a win this week, Week 17, against the 49ers. Chiefs beat the Bears 26-3, so Bears pretty much out of it at this point. I'm quite sure they are. And what else here? You had the Ravens beat the Browns, which locked up the first seed for the Ravens, so they're going to be resting a lot of bodies, although they did have a couple players hobbled by the end of that one. Mark Ingram, Lamar Jackson, and Mark Andrews all had some injuries in that game, so that could be something to look out for. You had the Raiders beat the Chargers, and the Eagles beat the Cowboys to win the NFC East. Pretty sure that locked up the win, or at least it's in their hands now. And Packers knocked off the Vikings last night, Monday Night Football. I do want to go back to that Raiders game. Are you aware that the Raiders can still make the playoffs?
I am now, after I saw your retweet of all the scenarios. And I want to, I don't know, I'm not a betting man, but I would put money on that they make, I turned Slack notifications off, whatever. I would put money on that they will make the playoffs, and all of those scenarios will happen.
Well, so going into this week of games, this past week, they needed 10 different games to go their way, and they got 5. So they're on track. They need to beat, I think it's the Broncos. They need to beat the Broncos, and then they need some other results that are pretty reasonable to go their way. So it's still possible. They're 7-8 right now. So we'll see. Just looking at the playoff picture, you have the Titans and Steelers currently jockeying for the 6th and final spot in the AFC. The Bills already have locked up that 5th spot, with the Ravens, Patriots, Chiefs, and Texans already winning their division. But yeah, Titans, Steelers, both with some tricky games. I think the Titans have the Texans and the Steelers have the Ravens, although the Ravens might not be taking it seriously. So the path may clear there for the Steelers. But if not, the Raiders are right there for the taking, 7-8. We'll see. Colts are also 7-8, but they've been eliminated. Can't get in via a tiebreaker. So that's that for the AFC. Looking over to the NFC, still some potential for movement here. No one has locked up the first seed, and I don't think anyone's locked up a bye either. You have the 49ers, Packers, and Saints all sitting 12-3, so they have locked up spots at least in the playoffs. And then the Packers and Saints already won their divisions. 49ers have to beat the Seahawks to do so, Currently, the Seahawks 11-4, sitting in a wild card spot. We'll see if they can beat the 49ers in Seattle, I think it is, to take over. I think the number 1 seed it would be. A lot of different implications there. Rams on the outside looking in. Actually, there's no race for who's going to make the playoffs. It's all about seeding at this point. So the Vikings, even though they lost last night, are still in. They just can't overtake the Packers for the NFC North Championship. There you go. That's the playoff picture.
Here are the scenarios for the Raiders.
Okay, thank you.
It is actually 9 games. They have 5 of them, so now they just need 4.
Okay.
Because there was the original tweet you quoted. There was an update to it.
Okay.
It had Browns beat Bengals, but the Browns game has no impact. So what needs to happen is Raiders need to beat the Broncos, Ravens need to beat the Steelers, Texans need to beat the Titans, and the Colts need to beat the Jaguars. All of that could definitely happen.
That could very well happen. I want to see it happen. I want the chaos.
I think it will.
But then you have the Raiders going to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. Like, I don't know, who do we have confidence in to potentially beat the Chiefs in Kansas City? Because the Chiefs are going to be the 3rd seed, it seems. So they'll be hosting the Titans, Steelers, or Raiders. I don't feel good about any of them going in. So maybe it doesn't matter. But just for the fun of it, I want to see the Raiders get in there.
Repeat. Sorry.
Just for the fun of the chaos and just watching it happen, I want to see the Raiders get into the playoffs. That would be fun.
I agree.
Alrighty.
More chaos that is not created by the officials.
Yeah, that's a good point. What?
Nothing. You click no sound on email and Slack, and here we go. We still get sound.
Wonderful. Do you have any other national notes before we get into our annual Christmas gifts for the New England teams?
Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. Okay. So last year we did this, so I guess that makes it annual. We like to think about potential Christmas gifts to give to each of the New England teams. I don't know, Patrick, you want to just start us off? We don't need to get too in-depth with it, but just something that you'd like to give a team?
As I said, the Bruins, I want either a third-line center or a top 6 winger.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. I want someone who can provide a little bit more physicality, that's not the aging David Backes and Zdeno Chara. I don't know if there's a player out there who's exactly like Tom Wilson where he can be a top 6 guy.
Josh Anderson.
You think? He's probably available too.
He hasn't been playing well this year, but that's also because Columbus hasn't been playing.
Okay, I know that name was thrown around a bit last year too, but just a big guy that you're nervous about playing against.
6'3", 222.
Beautiful.
And he's so fast.
Yeah, that would be fun to see. As much as I want a skill guy and whatever, I think you have a lot of that. I think you could use a little bit more physicality here. I'm not saying the Bruins need an enforcer or anything, but I think they could use a little bit more physicality, especially in those top 2 lines. All right. Anything else? Patriots,
I want an offensive identity. We were close to finding it last week, and I think we'll find it again this week. But again, it is against Miami. I guess that's the caveat.
I want the secondary to get back to playing the way that they were before, because we had like Jonathan
Before
Jones.
they started playing real teams.
Yeah, that. They had Jonathan Jones playing like a all-pro, which is ridiculous, in the slot, but he was doing really well there. Now he's been injured, so they've had some trouble. J.C. Jackson chasing around Cole Beasley with very little success this past week, and you're seeing teams being able to take the top off the Patriots, which is kind of rare. Where the Devin McCourty getting beat. You had Stephon Gilmore has been phenomenal all year. You can't really complain about him, but he got beat on a couple deep routes. So even Pat Chung too, a safety there. I think that they could get a little more consistent in the secondary, or at least play closer to the level we saw them play at early in the season. Although some of that, like you said, may have been due to the opponent. Anything? I'm sure you have plenty for the Red Sox. Do you have anything for the Celtics? I don't know if I can come up with something off the top of my head.
I just want them to be healthy.
Yeah.
I just want them to be healthy. Smart, he's not going to play Christmas. They already said that, but he's close to returning. He returned to practice. He'll be back soon, I think.
I don't know what I want for the Celtics. I guess I want to see them be able to, keep this momentum and keep kind of the formula that's working, because we're seeing kind of before our eyes the transition of power to, Tatum and Brown, where they have, seems like getting better and better, and they can now be relied on to, I guess, lead the scoring almost on a night-to-night basis, and that's been huge. So I think it's about keeping that same, formula even as the games get more important, and you might want to say, okay, Kemba, lead us to victory. You're the veteran. I think it's good to, get Brown and Tatum so much time with the ball and see where they can grow to. So they're off to a hot start in that for sure. Yes.
I have another forward suggestion for the Bruins, Chris Kreider.
Oh.
That's another guy.
Mm-hmm.
Size, skill, speed, physicality. Go get him.
That would be great.
Massachusetts boy, we can have the board selectmen of Boxford. Because they're too small to have a mayor, so we can have the board, like the selectmen of Boxford.
Wow. All the Massachusetts guys. Love it.
It's like Coyle. He's been rumored for years. Just make it happen already.
Yeah. Red Sox, I just want some direction.
Yes.
Because right now it's like, okay, you're bringing in some of these, cheaper maybe bridge guys, to fill out the rotation or the lineup, and it seems like you're trying to, maybe create a development year of sorts with, just enough guys to maybe at least have a winning record. But then you still have, Mookie Betts on your roster. Then you still have David Price taking up a lot of money. And it's kind of confusing to see, like, what are we trying to do here? We're still trying to keep these guys around and win a World Series, or are we trying to build for the future? Because if we're building, we might as well commit to building instead of hindering our ability to build by keeping some of these more expensive guys. So just like a little bit of a direction in terms of, which way are we taking this? Are we building, or are we trying to be another World Series contender? Anything for the Sox?
No, I agree. I want direction, or I want. I don't know. I want transparency, which is also direction.
Yeah. No, I like that. It's
trying to compete, but we're cutting payroll. You can't do both.
No. Alrighty. My last thing for the Revs, I just hope that they can, bring it all together, because I mentioned all those signings, a lot of new faces coming in. On paper, it looks phenomenal, and we've said that before with many Celtics teams where you bring in a lot of new guys, and this all looks great. It's going to be awesome, but then it just hasn't come together. So you hope that with all these new faces, and especially with soccer being a more international game, this Kamara guy, I don't think he's ever, left France to play, and now he's coming to the MLS, joining a team that's trying to make a playoff push. Like, I don't know how they will adjust and how they will gel, but faith in Bruce Arena to make it happen. He's been able to do it before. We'll see if he can do it again, and get this team working together from day one. Any final words, Patrick?
My Revs Christmas wish list. I want this Buxa kid to be a star.
A star.
Yeah.
He's 23. He's got potential.
He does.
Wow. So, man, you're all in on Buxa.
I'm all in.
Love it. All right. Well, I think that's it. Kind of a longer episode of the Duckboard Report today, but a lot to get to. Our Christmas special. So we enjoyed doing that. Thanks again to my dad for joining us here. You could probably even hear me say that if he's just in the other room. I don't know. But that's it for today. Patrick, any last words before we call today?
Merry Christmas. Merry Chrysler.
Merry Chrysler, everybody. Enjoy the holidays and enjoy the sports going on. Getting down to the fun part of the season. Football and, basketball with some big matchups. Hockey, Bruins maybe turning around. Lots of reasons to be excited. So thank you guys so much for listening today, and we will see you next time.